What's going on? It's your boy Deuce Wayne.
What's good? Big Merv in the building.
Yes, sir, and we're here for another edition of SceneDMs, the Scouting Report, and it's the third edition. And the movie that we will be reviewing today is Final Destination Bloodlines. Merv had a chance to see it. I had a chance to see it in theaters in IMAX, I must say, which makes an impeccable difference, a huge difference with the perspective of the screen. Final Destination Bloodlines, the 2025 American supernatural horror film. And it's directed by Zach L. and Adam Stein. It's a standalone sequel to the Final Destination 5, Merv, but it's also the sixth installment overall in the actual franchise that's been going on for a long time. What were your initial thoughts and reactions after seeing that film?
Every single time. Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. I actually thought the movie was amazing. And a lot of people obviously have their feelings towards gore and horror, that horror of that sense. Man, it was just like a wow factor of the movie. Like, it was pretty good. Like, I liked it. They showed us like different deaths. Like, you think that they've showed us enough deaths that we're like, oh, okay, we've seen all these already, but some of these deaths were like crazy. And the story was good. Like, I just thought the story was actually enjoyable, and how like there was little twists and turns there. But yeah, I really liked it. Still, I rocked it crazy.
Were you a fan initially of the Final Destination franchise in general? Were you looking forward to this movie coming out when they announced it, when you saw the trailer on SceneDMs? Or was it one of those things where you're just like, oh, okay, another horror film coming up, I'll check it out?
Fan, big time fan. I've seen every last one of them multiple times over. We're definitely going to have a Final Destination episode eventually. But I loved Final Destination from time. The concept, the entire backstory. I think I literally just rewatched some of them before that trailer came out, and I was like, oh wow, right on time. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's blessed. And so then I was excited to go watch it. I actually watched it opening day. So in Toronto, they had like the bus and different things in the front, Final Destination, like merch and things like that. So it was dope still. I'm not gonna lie, it was fire. It's fire.
No, that's awesome. I think you hit on a great point there when it comes to the death sequences and the fatality. I think Final Destination, the franchise, does a great job of really making it impactful, because it takes everyday situations or props and they manipulate us into thinking that this could be the absolute worst case scenario of something going bad, right? It could be a chain of cynical and pessimistic events that really ends up in a person's demise, unfortunately, or people's tragic demise and concludes their lives. And there's always some ridiculousness to it that I always bought into and enjoyed. So again, when I watched the film, my initial reactions were, I thought it was fun, man. I had a great time watching it. I think you kind of got to be a sick individual, and I'm a sick individual, because
so am I.
Prior to this film, the movies weren't necessarily written to be funny. Like, there wasn't like spot on jokes all the time. It was more so like playing into the horror, where this film, I feel like, really played into the comedic relief of the film. And prior to this film, I used to like go there and laugh at the death scenes. Again, we're sick individuals. I used to be like,
that's crazy.
It's wild how this happens, and there's a chain of events. But in this film, I laughed double time, because like they had actual jokes that I think that played into it well, especially with the pacing. Like you said, it's well plotted. I think that it stylistically looked good. So like the kills and the sequences and the set pieces, yes, they were immaculate. They were creative. But at the same time, I just liked how beautiful it was shot with the framing and everything. And I would have to say, like, I'm a fan of this, man. And I'm actually excited to see another installment. Did you realize or recognize all the callbacks throughout the film?
I don't think I did. I think there was a couple that were like crazy throwbacks that I kind of remembered, but I think the bus full of logs. Yes. Yeah, I saw that one.
You know what's crazy is the logs. It's like a character in a sense, right? Because you see them. It's to the point now when I'm on the 400 or the 401, if I see a truck, I'm not driving behind that.
Why in God's name would I do that? Yeah. Why would I do that?
The wildest thing about this movie is that it'll take certain situations and make you second guess a lot of things in your life. Like, oh, do I really want to get on a roller coaster? Oh, do I really want to do these things? That if you didn't watch these films before, you wouldn't have that mindset.
You literally would not have that at all. Like, it wouldn't be in your frame of mind. You're like, oh, this can't happen. And then you're like, wait, this can happen. And it's crazy to think about, like, fam, like bridges and like trampolines and roller coasters and all types of things, fam. No.
And that kind of leads me to this point about the opening sequence. I mean, I wonder what you thought about it. I think it's spectacular, because it truly didn't disappoint when it comes to the tone. It set the tone of the film for me. Yeah. Just being a Toronto native and having an opportunity to frequent the CN Tower, you understand exactly what the Sky Tower would feel like in that situation, because every time that I've had to take a trip up to the CN Tower, my hands, my palms get sweaty because I'm nervous, because you have the elevator with the glass so you can see directly outside into the whole of
Nah,
Toronto, right?
nah,
And
son.
then when you're up top, they had the glass floor so you could look directly down. It's all those elements that were kind of incorporated into that opening sequence. But what were your thoughts on that, man? Because I thought it was so frightening, but yet it was so engaging because it really, again, set the tone for what we were about to see for the rest of the film.
Nah, I thought it was great, man. I totally forgot that the movie was actually not going to be in that time. You know what I mean? Because they did such a great job of building it up and making it seem so like appealing. You know what I mean? Even the story behind it, like she was pregnant and all this stuff. Like there was such a nice story behind it until they obviously come through with the Final Destination crap. I thought like, man, that was everything was beautifully placed. From the chandelier hitting down to the glass and people jumping up on the glass, that thing, and then something, you know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of different things that like lined up perfectly. And I felt like they like did all of our imaginations like all in one, if that makes sense. Like all of our
Yeah.
fears of like heights and everything all in one place. Even throwing the penny off the side of the building and stuff like that. Like even that stuff, like we know like you can't throw stuff off that high because it could kill you.
About that scene too, I think is the kid. I think he's a goated MVP for an early runaway for just like setting the tone for the
He
comedy.
was cheesing me, fam.
He was,
I
he
know.
was hilarious. And it's just funny, even the way he acted inside. And you referenced the stomping, and I kind of related to in Sinners how Ryan Coogler did such a great filmmaking tactic of cutting the music to the stomping when Perlene was singing, right, in the movie Sinners. In this film with Final Destination's Bloodlines, you had them singing on stage talking about stomp, and it's like when the main character was like, "Yo, everybody chill, don't stomp," actually, and then it was like whispering,
Yeah.
stop a little bit louder, like that. Like you said, that's real suspense building and real cinema, and you could really tell
Yeah.
they really took their time on how they were going to execute this film. And then from there, like you said, when it wreaked havoc, it wreaked havoc. I mean, it was like deaths and fatalities in ways that you couldn't even imagine in the destruction of the Sky Tower. And then I think the cherry on top was that the little kid getting hit by the piano at the end.
Yo, fam, that was sick. I thought
It
he
was like
actually got
well
away.
deserving.
I thought he actually got away. I thought he was gonna be part of the bloodlines, and then boom, man's like murdered. I was like, oh yeah, it's sus. It's sus.
This film, it was budgeted at $50 million and it's already amassed $232 million. So it's definitely a financial success. I wouldn't say I'm surprised, man, because we're starting to see a certain trend, especially in North America. People really embrace horror, bro. And I think it's about time that they add some more categories like to the award circuit to pay homage to these films, because some of the best films of the last few years have all leaned into the supernatural or into the horror, gore, or more cynical, dark aspects of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I think they need to be applauded and congratulated, because it's still an impressive feat when it's able to entertain you, but also have, like you said, a good story that's involved. What did you think of the characters, bro? One thing I like about Final Destination is you always have a protagonist that is among a group of people that maybe are not as close together, so that when certain things do happen and they're the ones that are trying to warn them about the pattern, everybody is super skeptical and
Yeah.
reluctant to believe them, because they're like, nah, this is coincidental, bro. You don't
Mhm.
have no premonitions or have any special abilities to believe, I mean, to see in the future and see how and predict death. And you always have that one person that's like thinking they trick death,
Yeah.
then they get murked. Or you always have the one person that's like, I'm gonna cross the street however I want to cross the street. You're tripping. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? So
It's always that one person, fam.
always, and I always, this film, I like that they had a nostalgic character. I think, was it Eric? You had like the grunge guy, the emo guy. Just remind me of the early
Yeah.
2000s. Like when I was in middle school, I had friends like that, fam, that
Yeah.
dressed like that and acted like that. And it just made sense when you had it, the whole, you talked about the twist of the movie, the spoiler alert, but the adoption aspect, it just took
Yeah.
it over the edge for me. It was hilarious. Like,
I know. I was like, wow. Because we're like, oh shoot, there's so many different ways he could have died just now. Could have died, could have died. Then the sister dies, and we're like, yo, then she must be older than him.
yeah,
And
we
then
thought
like
you were next.
and then boom, then when that came, and everybody was like, damn, this actually might be real still. I was like, oh shit. Nah, man. That movie was impeccable, bro. Impeccable. I love it.
Talk about the plot really quickly. I fill some of the people in on what happened, and then I want to talk about the callbacks. I kind of
Yeah.
referenced them earlier, but it's basically about a teenage girl who has reoccurring nightmares of a tower collapse in the 1960s, and she discovers that these nightmares are premonition, and these are the premonitions that she's inherited from her grandmother. The grandmother predicted the collapse of the building and saved a group of people from all the death. And decades later, the granddaughter begins to have these visions of her family members dying, and she realizes that there's a sequence and must fight the prevent of death from reclaiming her family's bloodline. So that's the whole thing. So it's kind of cool that this movie is the 6th installment of the franchise, but in a way, it's like a prequel.
Yeah, like 5 and 6 are technically prequels of 1, 2, 3, and 4.
But like you said, it was well paced, and you like the plot. Like, what did you think of the story? You think, in terms of the other films, I think this is one of the better versions of like a narratively complete story that's like cohesive and has a lot of
Yeah.
character development.
I thought that they combined 2 different rules that they've had in the series. One of either cheating death by giving a life, which they added in 5, and then the one of you have to die and come back, which was in number 2.
Yes.
I thought that was pretty cool how they combined those two together to make one big rule of like, oh, that's the only way to cheat death.
Yeah.
I loved that part of it. So I thought that the intertwining those things was great. I thought that the plot was pretty good, given the fact that it was like a start. It was the start of everything, kind of. So instead of it being like, oh, like, do you remember flight da 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 that blew up, or the roller coaster or whatever? It was like, oh nah, she had like a list of all these people that have died and how they've died because of her premonitions and stuff like that. So I thought that was like a kind of better way of doing it, personally, of seeing like, oh, like literally bloodlines, like, oh, because these people weren't supposed to be alive, like the way that they're dying and everything. I thought that was like, I was like, oh, wow, I actually rock with that way, because that gives some like, oh, like it goes deeper than just the surface of like, oh, you are the one that's gonna die. Like, no, everything after you is gonna die and everything like that. It's pretty dope. So I like that.
Yeah, they deepen the lore of death, and
Yeah.
it kind of reminds me of the Cartoon Network show. Was it Billy and Mandy, and then Death would show?
Oh
up?
yeah.
It reminds me of him because Death was so funny in that, and he was just like, "Bro, if it's your time, it's your time." And then obviously in one of your favorite shows and my favorite shows, Family Guy, and whenever Death comes around,
Death comes true. Jokes is bare jokes.
very jokes. So it kind of has that same element to me. I noticed that, but I couldn't agree more. Like what you're talking about when it comes to the story aspect of this film, but in terms of the callbacks, Merv, I think the callbacks were essential because they were subtle. And one part of the franchise is the continuity was death, and suggesting that death is always persistent. You look at the log truck that you already spoke about. So there's like the iconic car crash in Final Destination 2 that involves the log truck. So it's revisited at the end of Bloodlines, crushes Stephanie and Charlie. And it's also shown when the grandmother in Iris's book, you know how it shows all the it actually is a log truck.
The log truck. Yeah, I remember.
Right. Then the MRI and the magnetism scene, man, hilarious. When the MRI scene, when the key element to Bobby's death is kind of a direct reference to the train tracks with the pull in the first one, with how the cylinder or the spring is whatever it hits.
Yeah, and it could slice him in half, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And the vending machine, like I said, the spring with Bobby's death, when he was impaled by the vending machine with the spring, it's a call back to the train assisted decapitation in Final Destination, with the spring being released by Eric after the vending machine. That was probably, we're gonna talk about the best deaths. I think that was kind of like, that sequence right there was pretty good. And then lastly, the gas leak that kills the guests at the lodge in the Final Destinations is referenced through Kat, as she mentions on her way to bed and breakfast, where a gas leak would have killed her. So like that was
I remember that. Yeah,
subtle call back there too. So I thought that was pretty cool. Several deaths and plots and elements that subtly recall, previous installments of the franchise is cool, because you're referencing 1 and 2 and kind of highlights the connection between the films. And it reinforces reinforces the idea of death and how it's a reoccurring entity, and it's gonna carry out his plans. Like I said, I mentioned those TV shows because that, when I was a kid, was like an easier way of me understanding that. You know what I'm saying? When they talk about put the medicine in the candy, it's like seeing in Billy and Mandy how death was all hilarious, but like, nah, bro, we're here to do a job. So like, you're gonna get dead off. And same with the Family Guy. It was funny, but it's like, when you think about it, it's like, damn, death does come for everybody, and nobody can escape it, no matter how much money you have in the world, no matter how much power you have. So I think that was a cool element to Final Destination.
No, I thought that was too, man. I loved every part of that death. Like that, you know what I mean? It's kind of terrifying though, because even after like we watched the movie, we were walking outside, and everybody that came out of the film was like looking across the street like 30 times, like making sure the shit was clear, looking up and everything like that. And it was like, it's like funny how like everybody starts to treat death after you watch a movie like that, and how scary life becomes when you watch movies like that. It actually does mess with your brain a little bit, but the movies are good though. So
yeah, what I also liked about this film is that because it was so suspenseful, it had me at the edge of my seat thinking like, oh no, I felt like a detective. I was trying to
Hmm.
predict, all right, don't go here. If you walk here, you might step on this and this might happen, or this.
Hmm.
And I think that was the geniusness of the film, because then it has you so engaged, right? You're not now just laid back. You're also a playing participant in the film.
Yeah.
Remember when the guys were on the trampoline and there was a rake under? I was like, please, bro, like someone, and she caught it. The mother who came
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
was like, yeah, there's a rake, and moved it. And that kind of paid homage to the fake death out scenes that we always see in Final Destination, where it's
Yeah.
like someone is able to possibly predict or prevent a death from happening, but the death is like, nah, that wasn't actually the route I was
It
going.
was it was a pump fake. It was
It
a
was a
pump
pump
fake.
fake, so elite pump fake. What was your favorite death sequence in this film? Like the fatality that sticks with you the most?
Man, there was so many. The piano one for so many different reasons. But I think the girl in the dump truck
Ooh,
was bad, man. Like when it like popped like a balloon, like
the
that.
head crusher.
And I that's what I was gonna say. Like I feel like they've actually shown
They have,
like more close ups of those kind of things these days than
yeah.
they, you know what I mean? Like I felt like a lot of the deaths were actually close.
Well, I think that's a testament to the better special effects that we have, but
Hmm.
also just the makeup and, like you said, just the way they're able to lean into gore nowadays. Because, like you said, just having it be a close up angle of a head exploding and not shying away from that, like,
Yeah. That's
like
is
it's insane.
it's actually insane. Like, and to see like the pressure of like the thing like pushing it together before it popped, it's like it was like wow, that's crazy. Now I'm scared of dump trucks for sure. I think honestly, man, if I'm gonna go with the worst, whew, Granny up at the cabin had it. Yo, fam, Granny up at the cabin, her joint was crazy.
Yeah, that was tough.
No, that actually was honestly the best. I would say the best looking. Like yo, it actually looked
Mm,
crazy. Like that was the best looking,
yeah.
like of how quickness and everything like that of it. Like that, I think that was the best looking. But when it came to like the worst one, I would have to go with the piercings and then being split backwards. Yeah, that's
Also because it was funny, because it's like you wouldn't expect a man to have piercings on his meat paws.
but
So
yeah,
the fact
piercings everywhere, fam. His meat started lifting up. They're like, wait.
I said, yo,
Yo,
what?
when I seen that, fam, yo, I grabbed my meat immediately. I knew the pain. I was like, oh, no, no way, no way, no
Ooh.
way.
The nipple piercings was hilarious, but it took it over the top with that one. And then to see his body just fold like that way, I've never seen that before, bro. That was crazy.
Bro, and
Into the
then
MRI machine.
the
Yo,
chairs, the chair, the metal wheelchair was digging through his back. Yo, fam.
it's like,
He had the worst death because it was like it wasn't quick. It was like
yeah.
you're gonna die, bro. You're dying.
And then
There's
I
nothing
feel
you can
like
do about
I
it.
feel like it was Death saying like, "Oh, y'all trying to cheat me, huh?" Because remember
Yeah,
they were trying to give him the peanuts so that he
yeah.
could whatever take with EpiPen for his broski, and Death was probably like, all right, go on, and then see what happens. But even
Gone
then,
easy.
to
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to see his brother then get, and it's funny because when I was watching the film, you know us, we love movies, so I'm paying attention. I'm like, why would they show a close up of a animated cartoon picture of a guy pushing over the vending machine and it's saying what it's saying? So I'm like, oh, obviously there's going to be a death by a vending machine, but
Yeah,
then
yeah, exactly.
it didn't happen.
Pump fake,
Yeah,
pump fake. Yeah, see,
me
I'm
and
telling you.
Carmelo pump fake. I'm like, oh, he keeps saying that the vending machine is going to tip over, he's going to die. That did not happen. And surely enough, after all the things we just described that happened to Eric's character, eventually the vending machine said, "Nah, don't forget about me. Tag me in that."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the
yeah.
spring came
Nah, the man
across.
said, nah, pump fake, pump fake, pump fake. Nah, 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 go for it, and then cash. That's what he said. That's exactly what he said the entire time.
Yo,
Pump
that was
fake.
a rude one. I have to agree. I also, man, it's something about the backyard sequence to me that was both comedic. One, because they just came from a funeral, and it's like after the funeral, a man's are in a sunny backyard talking about this is all we need right here, family. I'm just like, yo, if if I see one of my family members get murked the way he did, I'm not kumbaya the next day over Bellini's,
Nah.
eh?
Yeah, yeah. What? Are you guys crazy?
To have the glass break, first of all, lack of a court awareness and social awareness, how you see the glass in the ice, but to have the sharp pieces of glass in the ice, genius, because it just obviously ice looks like pieces of glass
Nah, everybody's. I'm Paro. Nah, by the way, Paro.
to the naked eye. To have the fact where it's like, okay, now we don't know who has the cup that has the glass in it, and they did a great job of dragging this scene out to the point where every different character was taking a sip, and you're like, oh, it's him, it's them, it's her, it's him, it's her, and we didn't know until it finally was who it was, and then that trickled over into the lawnmower situation, which I thought was fantastic, man. Just to see a man's head get dummied off by a lawnmower was both frightening, but also it was like a guilty pleasure, man. Because you see these people on their John Deeres and they're driving around and stuff. And
Fam,
you think about the worst now, and it's like, man, could you ever get dudded off by your own lawnmower? That's a crazy way to go.
fam, the way they set up that scene was actually like beautiful. Honestly,
Chef's
they
kiss,
set it up
chef's
in like
kiss.
so many different ways, and like even the kid almost exploding, like you said at the barbecue, like the kid almost exploding, being a callback to that kid that did explode into.
Now I'm nervous
Everything
when you
about
hear
that,
like
man.
when you hear the propane when I'm outside. I get nervous.
Fam, I've been like that anyway
Hey,
since number 2. I've been like that. So easy. I always tell everybody to get far back still, just in case, just in case. But no, I think the craziest spins of the movie was the brother, not only because of like what we said, like with the sister dying, but more with Death figuring out why he can't kill him. You know what I mean? Like in the store, like in the tattoo shop. I'm damn near sure like Death was like, yo, why can't I kill this guy?
Yeah, he was cheating.
And then he was just like, oh, he probably got it wrong. Because Death was clearly after him. Like it was clear Death was after him. It wasn't like, oh, like all these things were a coincidence. Death was after him. But then for some reason he didn't die. So we're like, yo, why didn't he die? Like, was the girl wrong? But even I started questioning. I was like, oh, she's wrong, probably. She's probably wrong. And then for it to be like that reveal, like that makes that scene even crazier. Like you can actually see Death struggling to kill somebody because it's actually not their time yet. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Which is crazy. So that's why I thought it was a nice twist of it as well.
No, a great twist, and that's a great point. I like that scene a lot. Just obviously being someone that's tatted and being in a tattoo shop, you do think about things like that too. It's going haywire, like in that aspect. I just think you go to these films and you know you're not there for the characters. Like, I couldn't even tell you all the characters' names throughout the franchise, but you could remember the deaths. I very much know that before I get acupuncture, I'm thinking about the Final Destination scene.
Yeah, Final Destination 5,
with the acupuncture. The fact that they're able to create this is cool for the fans, but also something that we could all just sheepishly laugh at. I will say too, it's an extreme side of the negative, right? So some people watch this and they're like, oh, now I gotta live in a bubble. But it's like, man, if you do that, then you're not gonna enjoy life. It's like a friendly reminder to be cautious because it's a movie. You have to remember it's a movie at the end of the day. I'm sure some people have unfortunately met their demise tragically through some of these ways and sequences. Maybe not.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
You don't think someone in this world has ever gotten killed by
a dummy
a
like the MRI joint? No,
a lawnmower though, or like those lazy deaths from the previous films where it's like a guy slipping on a wet wire, like what I mean, stuff like that. Yeah, obviously it's not frequent matters and how these people.
I mean, maybe people have actually died that way, which would actually be crazy.
This film serves, like we always talk about what we learn from these films. I'm like, to me, it's like just be cautious, bro. Like just be cautious, but obviously not be overly cautious where you're not enjoying life because anything could happen.
Facts. I feel like what these movies do is they put realism to some of our fears. In the first one, like planes have actually exploded before. Actual real things, situations.
Yeah.
But they twisted a bit towards like these things have actually happened.
The first one came out and then 9/11 happened right after that. When stuff like that happens and occurs in the real world, like you said, it's like, holy.
Yeah, exactly. So then, and then in number 2, there has been deaths by logs on the highway. Obviously, in history, there has to have been. So there is a possibility that you'll be driving past a log truck and also that the logs might fall off. See? And then number 3, you've obviously heard that roller coasters have crashed and people have died on roller coasters. So again, another real thing that they've made amplified. So you're like, damn, like if I go on a roller coaster every time, like will I die? Number 4 is a racetrack. Everybody knows like it's terrifying being in a racetrack because cars can flip over, come into the crowd, whatever. And we obviously see local ones all the time. And then so they put realism to that, which have happened before. And then bridges collapsing, like in number 5, have happened before. So like all these things are like things that literally have happened. Towers breaking down like in 6, things like that have happened before in some degree, like a building falling or whatever. So now they put realistic, like they put a crazy part to a realistic thing.
This film was a kill fest, but it was a fun time. And I want to talk about the ending and the conclusion a little bit, Murph, because I think what this franchise does really, really well, tremendously well, I would say, is that there's always a brutal, gruesome death scene to finish the film, conclude it in the third act. and then it always cuts to black, and then there's some type of rock music or like
Mm-hmm.
unknown or famous kind of song rock band. But I just thought for him to carry that out again, we talk about callbacks, we talk about the consistency and the continuity throughout the franchise. I loved it, and the fact that the final death was kind of reminiscent of what we're all synonymous with. We know the film or the franchise for, which is the
Mm-hmm.
log truck. I think it was like the cherry on top. So, what do you think about the ending?
I thought the ending was good, man. I knew they weren't obviously gonna stay alive. Obviously, that didn't make no sense.
For like a small
Um,
part, did you think, or
no,
not? Not
not
even, not
even.
at all.
It's Final Destination, bro. Everybody dies. So I already knew that, but I just didn't know how they were gonna die. I thought the ending was good. It was a crazy way to end. Like death, like was like, yo, breeze it. Yo, throw a grenade at them, please. That's all. That's what he started doing because he's like, yo, I can't get them the small way, so I'm gonna get them the large way. Pause.
Yeah,
Um, but I like the ending though. I actually really did like the ending, and even in the order that they died, like even like that was actually a cool way too to be like, nah, I remember now it has to go this person and then this person kind of thing. So I thought that was
yeah.
pretty dope too.
What did you think about Todd Sweeney? Obviously, recently we watched, the horror film for our Halloween episode, Candyman. Don't say it three
Yeah.
times. Mr. Todd Sweeney's final performance, man. I thought that even when we're watching the John Wick franchise and we see the concierge go through his demise, but then you realize off screen that he was
He died
struggling
as well.
with
Yeah.
health and he passed away. That was his final film. Same thing when you talk about Chad Boswick and the Black Panther. Todd Sweeney, he was sick. We knew that. And we knew that this was like some of his last performances that he was putting out there. I
Mm-hmm.
always find it kind of like equally creepy, but also eerily like satisfying that people in those films will talk as if not they're just referring to the plot or the character, but they're also
Mm-hmm.
speaking about like their own lives. So when he
Yeah.
was talking about death and how it comes for everybody and
I feel
all
like that
this
was him
stuff,
talking. Yeah,
I
about
feel like it
himself.
was him like
Yeah.
reflecting or maybe just reaching some type of fulfillment or conclusion or acceptance of his sickness or what was happening. But what do you think of his performance or seeing him in that film?
At first, I was like, "Damn, why'd they drag him back, knowing that he's sick?" I felt bad like that, but like even when I like watched the trailer, you can obviously see that he's sick, he's more slim, and everything like that. And it was sad, but then like when I heard his ending, his exiting monologue, I was like, "Yo, that was actually beautiful." Like,
Powerful.
if I felt like he was talking about, like you said, I think that's what they said it was when I read it up, is that he was like speaking. They said, "What do you want to say to the fans if you want to say anything?" And then that's what he said.
Wow.
And he kind of just spoke to the fans, spoke to everybody, and just let them know that like that's how he feels about death, even though it's coming for him. Like he says, he was just like, I'm just gonna enjoy the days that I have, and he literally did that before he passed away. So that's why I
Yeah.
thought it was powerful, and everything about that was so dope and so cool. Like you said, it's eerie because knowing it's the last performance, they're not with us anymore. But at the same time, it is, like you said, satisfying to see him have that movie be the ending for him, given the fact of everything that obviously he's been through with the Final Destination.
I think it's special because one thing about cinema is that it can't be taken away. It's set in stone visually. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where his family's family or fans will always see this. This role, this performance will be here long after us. Also cool that people are able to, be brave enough to do that because it's not easy. And knowing you're sick and embracing that and having to actually still get back out there and act. I thought it was fitting. Rest in peace to him for sure.
R.I.P. for real.
Where do you want to see this franchise progress to when it comes to talk about the budgeting and how much money it made? He made his money back tenfold. Do you think they're going to release a film next year or it's going to take a couple more years? And where do you want it to go? Do you want it to be a continuation? Do you want it to be like, what do you want for this film as a fan of this franchise?
I mean, I feel like what they did was so good because they went past and then present. And even if they would decided they wanted to go back to the past and like talk about some of that middle ground in between the 60s and 2000s, would be pretty good. But I just love the franchise, man. At first I was like, dang, I didn't want them to make another one because 5 was so bad comparable to the others, and 4 was not good either. I wasn't sure if they should make another one. Then when I watched it and everything, I enjoyed it so much. I was like, yo, I wish they could make 20 more. Like, I don't care. Like, make it a new story, make it something else, because they have such a creative mind when it comes to these Final Destinations. There's millions of things that they could use in those situations.
Facts.
You can never run out, essentially, because you can just make things as wild as possible. So, yeah, man, I would love to see like 10 more, 20 more. It didn't matter. Keep the next generation scared too, just like we are. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. So
Keep them power. All right. While we wrap up, what's your final rating? What's the rating you're giving it?
on a horror rating, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. On a general sense movie rating, I would give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Average. But because of the factor of it being Final Destination, it kicks it up.
Yeah,
in
it
the
does.
horror. Yeah, so
No, for sure. I'm definitely going 3.4 out of 5 overall. Like you said, because you just know what you're getting when you go into these films. I actually exceeded my expectations. I expected it to be like a 2.5,
yeah,
especially what we talked about from 4 and 5. I went there with low expectations. Again, I'm on the Merv program where I don't watch trailers. I just post them. I didn't really, I think I saw the teaser. And the teaser was like 20 seconds. It was literally the guy scraping the ice and it said bloodlines. And I was like, oh, there's ice in a cup. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew it was gonna be a death with ice in a cup.
yeah.
That's all I saw. So I didn't know about them going into the past and then going back to all that. I didn't expect that. I enjoyed it a lot. So 3.4 out of 5 for me, and I'm excited to see where the franchise goes. Yes, sir. That's the scouting report. SceneDMs Scouting Report for Final Destination Bloodlines.
Bloodlines, fire movie. Yes, sir.
Fire movie. Let us know what y'all think in the comments. If they should continue the franchise, what you thought about the film, anything else that you want to mention that maybe we missed, because I definitely got to watch it again. I think it's
Facts.
available on streaming soon. It's been fun, Murph. Final Destination, Bloodlines. Yes, sir. Seen DMs. We have a scouting report coming out soon. We'll see you same time, same place.
See ya.